I went to therapy and I wanted closure. So I messaged him on Facebook. I told him when we were teenagers, you degraded me, you made fun of me. And when the Linda Ronstadt song came out, when will I be loved? You told everybody, when will she be loved? Never. I told him he should apologize. He wrote back, poor baby. He said he didn't remember that. That's not an apology. That's not closure. The next week, he offered to take me out. He took me out for Spanish food. Sometimes you can't get a verbal closure. Sometimes you just have to accept free food. I read somewhere that a woman's sexual peak is in her 30s. During that time, flirting with people can be dangerous. I was not flirting. I was just being friendly. One day I said hi to this guy, and I squeezed his arm. I didn't mean to, but he had muscles, and I love a man in uniform, even the United States Postal Service uniform. The next time I saw him, he said, "Hey, baby," and he whispered in my ear. He was like an R&B singer because he had a low voice. Then I started to like him. I started to get feelings. I got electricity up and down my spine. Why not? Everybody's doing it. I called him. Then he called me back. But it wasn't a romantic call back. It was just a hi and bye. Then he saw me in the giant parking lot and he gave me a kiss on the cheek. But it was the kind of kiss you would give to a family member. Then I realized he was just playing when he whispered in my ear. I was ready to throw my marriage away. I was ready to throw everything away for some muscles. That's why flirting is dangerous. When I told my husband I wanted a divorce, he threatened to kill me. I feel like a slave defying a master. I've tried to stick with it for the sake of the children, but I no longer love him. I have found hotel receipts, theater tickets, and a love letter. All these souvenirs from his girlfriends. Not to mention a call in the middle of the night. He has always said that there are others waiting in the wings, so to speak. I'm tired. I don't want this life anymore. I pray to God that one of these understudies will now come and become his star. Yes, go be with one of these other women. But no. He says if I leave him, I'll regret it. But I don't think so. I'll be happy to live without him and his big ego. Do you know he tells people he has a PhD, but he hasn't even finished his master's? Being around him has made me turn myself into a sarcastic and toxic person. What should I do? Please tell me. I'm asking you because you are a minister. I just want to leave this marriage. He might hurt me. I'm not ready to die. But murder is in the newspaper each and every day. We met at church. We each had gone through a divorce. My children pushed us to go out. When he kissed me, it was as though I had never been kissed before. But I had no reason to get married again. I was over 50. When he asked me to marry him, I said no. Then he asked my kids for permission to marry me, and they said yes. I got permission from the kids, he said. I couldn't argue with that, so I said yes. He was retired. He kept the house clean. He played golf. He got along with everyone. Then he had a pain and went for some tests. It was cancer, the doctor said. He survived his operation and his treatments. He went out to the golf course again. But years later, we had his homegoing service. We had beautiful days together. Sweet days. I'm grateful for that. I became a mother when I was 1 year old. How can a newborn baby be a mother? Because the year I was born, my aunt gave me a doll, and it looked just like a newborn baby. Men are confused why women want to get married and have kids right away. A woman starts getting trained to settle down as soon as she is born. I had a lot of baby dolls. Boys were not given fake children to take care of, most of them. They might have trucks or cars or Hot Wheels or maybe G.I. Joes, but no fake children. So that's how I became a mother at 1 year old. In the 1960s, every girl was expected to say, yes, I want to be a mother. People never really asked you if you wanted to be a mother where it was a genuine choice of answer. You knew the answer that they wanted before they even asked the question. Most people would say how proud they were of you for feeding your baby doll with the play bottle or changing the baby's play diapers. You get praised for doing these things, for taking care of someone else. It was what girls did. Your life's goal was already decided for you. You were going to be a mother. In 1969, I was a few years out of high school, but I didn't have the money for college, so I was working as a file clerk in an office building. I was bored with life. One day my uncle made the suggestion that I apply to be a stewardess, a flight attendant. I applied and got the job. Back then, we were weighed before every flight. You had to get on that scale. I was 5'8" tall, and I had to weigh no more than 135 pounds. You had to be gorgeous and wear false eyelashes. They would check your makeup. We were trained to apply Merrill Norman cosmetics, and our uniform was designed by fashion designer Emilio Pucci. Most flight attendants back then left after 6 months. They'd marry a pilot or a customer they met on duty. You couldn't be married as a flight attendant. You couldn't have children. You had to be less than 32 years old, single, with no kids. It could be dangerous. I knew a flight attendant who broke her back during a flight. There was turbulence, and she hit the ceiling while she was serving drinks and snacks. There were less safety restrictions back then. It could be a challenge. I got to travel the country. I got to go to special events. And I got to meet famous people. On one of my flights, I met Bill Cosby. Five of us were chosen to travel with the Dallas Cowboys. The airline assigned each flight attendant to a different man. We had to sit with them at the Cowboys game in Appleton, Wisconsin. One girl was set up with the vice president of our airlines. Another one was set up with a prominent businessman. And I got set up to sit with the governor of Oklahoma. Before the game, they spent $1,000 buying us clothes. And before the game, the governor called my hotel room asking if I wanted to meet him for drinks. The head flight attendant, who was sharing a room with me, told me to tell him no. At the game, I sat right next to the governor. Everyone was drinking alcohol. I had never seen Bloody Marys with celery sticks. It was so fancy. The governor handed me a flask. "Take a swig of this to keep you warm," he said. I took a swig and got lightheaded. After the game, I got back to the plane just as they were pulling up the stairs. The plane was full of Dallas Cowboys football players. None of them were sitting in their seats. They were all standing the entire flight. After it was over, I thought it was over, but it wasn't. The governor of Oklahoma kept calling me for weeks. He wanted to have drinks. I didn't want him. I wasn't going to put out just 'cause he's a governor, just 'cause I got some new clothes. I only let somebody get close to me if it was a man of my own choosing. The airlines figured that out and didn't include me in any more special trips. I was working first class when Bill Cosby stepped onto the plane. I was starstruck. I had seen him on television so many times in his show, I Spy. Back then we could serve people beverages while the plane was taxiing the runway. Mr. Cosby said he would like some hot tea. I put a tea bag and hot water in a cup. Mr. Cosby said, "You should never serve someone tea with the tea bag in the cup." Then he winked at me. He was performing in Dallas that night. He left free tickets for the whole crew. Good seats. We sat right up front. I really admired him. But after all the evidence came out, it did change the way I felt about him. He was a powerful man, funny and handsome. There were millions of women who'd want to have a fling with him. I just don't understand. Why would he do that?